which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't think that's it. Where's the surround sound?
Yeah, I was gonna say, not
Okay, first item on the agenda is 10 Thompson Road Wetlands Permit Application. We had the hearing December 6th, and we weren't prepared to write the resolution that night. So we're gonna have a special meeting after this, but is there any more
There was
discussion?
an issue with it because they applied for the dock in the same application as the wetlands. So they had to separate the dock from the wetlands application so that it could be processed. So what we've received now is essentially the same application, just with the dock removed.
Right.
And they've applied separately for the dock application, which will then go through the WNIC and the usual process. So this is just on the wetlands application without the dock included. So that's what we're
Okay.
going over.
Anybody have any questions on this one? Anybody,
Yeah, about the, we have the resolution
right,
for later.
We have the input from the CAC, that's the resolution. But I think,
Yeah, it is in there. They had the
yeah, the
planting
conditions are.
and,
yeah, we have 20,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
my apologies, that was me,
All right, so we're gonna do a resolution for that
later.
special meeting.
Special meeting, yeah.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the Ram's Head Inn. Amber will lead this discussion.
Yep.
I will
Believe.
And you have to
leave.
leave.
Yep.
Is that the remark?
My cake.
Yeah, okay. All right, good. And Timothy Hill, our counsel, is on. So what we were doing with this today, and let me just start off with, because we have an open, public hearing, we're not going to open this topic up to discussion today because we want everything to be publicly noticed and we want it to be on the public record. So just letting the public know, we just are today just covering whether or not HAJAC's report incorporated the correction with the float sizes. And also that when we want to set the public hearing and, notice it. So we have the December 12th report from HAJAC Land Planning and Environmental Consulting. And the modification in the brief project summary does have the correction.
Right,
It changed town to village.
right.
Minor change, but it
Yes,
was.
that bothered me too. So this will be the final report that we will take into consideration when we go back into the open public hearing.
And this one's on the website, Christina?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Just want to say
All
that.
right. So we have a meeting next week, but it's too soon. And Timothy Hill, I had asked you earlier today that we should, because it's been a couple of months, that we should go ahead and publicly notice this so that we're convening that public hearing. And January 10th is our first public meeting in the new year, since next week is just our annual meeting cleanup stuff, nothing,
Yeah.
no public hearings.
So
or
a new
anything.
notice,
So we'll
Amber.
make sure that,
Yeah.
that gets.
I'll put it in with this one.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So we will set that public hearing and then everyone can chime in on that date. And then subsequent to that, if we close the public hearing on January 10th, then we can start to discuss next town board work session for
Yes.
the 17th.
So maybe resolution by the end of January is our goal.
Yes, exactly. So that was it for that topic on today's agenda.
Okay.
So we can, where did Jerry go? All the way in the other room, or did he go to the store?
But wherever his cake was.
Oh. Okay.
So we can make a motion to close the work session and open up the special meeting, or do we need to?
Yeah, I think I have the wrong, I do with my agenda.
Just one.
No, we want to do board member reports.
Christina.
I thought we were going to do that after the special meeting. Yeah, special meeting, and then board member reports in public.
Okay, yes, okay, so then we need a motion to adjourn the work session and go
Into the special
meeting.
So move.
Second. Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Special meeting resolution.
I say we could probably get started.
Yeah.
And he'll just chime in. Yeah, go ahead, Megan, for that resolution.
So the first resolution we have is for 10 Thompson Road.
Should we wait for Amber? I don't know.
Oh,
Yes,
I see.
yes, good catch.
Yeah.
And we just have paper.
We turned the work session, we're now in discussion.
Oh, you don't want to do the board member reports first?
No.
we're gonna do it after.
Okay. So we have the,
She's getting it.
okay, the waiver to sign.
Yep.
Okay, so we have two resolutions, one for 10 Thompson Road and one for 29 Nostrum Parkway. Have the resolution, Matt?
Thank you.
I do.
Want to start with 10 Thompson Road?
Sure. 10 Thompson Road, whereas Land Use Ecological Services, Inc. by Dan Hall on July 13th, 2022, submitted a revised wetlands permit application on behalf of William Cummings and Bernd Heiberg, 7B, pursuant to Chapter 129 of the Town Code, to seek approval for reconstructing 4 retaining walls, a walking path with stairs down to the Merkle Boat Basin, along with a new pool and patio within or partially within the regulated area. Whereas the subject property is located at 10 Thompson Road, Shelter Island, New York, which is within the AA reverting to A residential zoning district and the Near Shore Peninsula Overlay District with a Suffolk County tax map number of 0700-24-01-24, the property, whereas the shoreline is unhardened, whereas the subject construction is shown on both the Sean Leonard AIA architectural site plan dated November 14th, 2022, which is based on an F. Michael Hemmer LSPC survey dated July 15th, 2021, whereas the application was referred to the Planning Board and Conservation Advisory Council for recommendations, and said recommendations have been submitted and considered, and whereas a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation letter of non-jurisdiction number 1-4732-01128/00001 has been issued for the proposed construction above the top of the bluff, and a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation permit has been issued for the proposed work below, permit ID number 1-4732-01128/0000002. And whereas this board considered the proposed action at a public hearing pursuant to notice on September 27th, 2022, October 18th, 2022, and December 6th, 2022, and whereas this board now wishes to render a decision on this wetlands application, now therefore be it resolved that this board hereby pursuant to SECRA determines that this is a type 2 action, 6 NYCRR 617.5, C11 and 12, and therefore will not have significant impact on the environment. And be it further resolved that the town board adopts the findings of the planning board and the CAC and concurs with the justifications and mitigation measures offered in the subject application and at the hearing. Be it further resolved that the wetlands permit for the subject construction to be completed at 10 Thompson Road, Shelter Island, New York, New York, is hereby granted subject to the following conditions. 1, all construction shall be in full conformity with the Sean Leonard AIA architectural site plan dated November 14th, 2022, which is based on F. Michael Hemmer LSPC survey dated July 15th, 2021. Most of these are all the standard conditions that we put on all of it.
I think 20.
And then,
We had 20?
well, we also added, no, there's more than that. So an automatic cover and cartridge filter shall be installed in connection with the pool. That's item 16. Item number 17, 15 native shrubs shall be planted in the area landward of the tree line. Number 18, a Suffolk County Department of Health approved IA septic system shall be installed and approved in full conformance with the subject Department of Health approval. Item number 19, the subject staircase shall be constructed with decking treads with 1/4-inch gaps for water drainage using only the minimum number of structural posts necessary as confirmed by the senior building inspector, and any footing shall be dug and backfilled the same day. And item number 20, an updated architectural site plan shall be submitted prior to any work being conducted showing a code-compliant pool fence and gate, location of the pool equipment, and a non-turf buffer starting landward of the elevation 5 and ending up the slope to 15 feet, consisting of non-turf plantings from the CAC planting list. And we did receive that. We have that planting plan. Be it further resolved, the copies of this approval shall be filed with the building inspector. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? The next one?
Your water.
Your water.
Yeah. Whereas Kristen Arnberg on behalf of Deerwater LLC, 29 Nostrum Parkway, petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove and replace in kind approximately 49 linear feet of existing timber bulkhead and backfill with approximately 10 cubic yards of clean sand fill to be trucked in from an approved upland source. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 6th day of December 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Part 617, Section 617.10 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act and Chapter 60, the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, notice is hereby given to the town board as lead agency, sorry about that, has determined that the project will not have a significant effect on the environment. A draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. Environmental review status pursuant to Section 60, Chapter 60 of the Town Code of the Town of Shelter Island, Type 2. Reasons supporting this determination. The proposed bulkhead replacement. Number one, will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels or interference with navigation. Number two, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under town waters. Number three, will not adversely affect shellfishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. Number four, will not adversely affect the quality of the tidal waters, shoreline, or beaches. And finally, number five, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction of person specifications filed. After said applicant pursuant to Section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk an insurance on the location and options, a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 worth of liability insurance on location and operations covered by said permit. A copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit that said contractor has an owner/contractor's policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for liability limits of at least $500,000, covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit. And be it therefore resolved that said operations shall be completed within 1 year of the date of issuance of this permit. Said permit is subject to the recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, or any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're gonna recess the special meeting and close the special meeting and go back to our work session. And we're up to board member reports. I'll start. Last week, we met with the Village of Deering Harbor, with the trustees and the town and the village attorney to go over some issues that we had started talking about really before COVID. And we kind of got waylaid, and then they had an election, so they got waylaid. The one thing, Amber, you were away that we have to finalize, which I really thought was finalized, was the tax invoices for the fire district. We had discussed it in public and we approved it, and the fire commissioners approved it. So I'm not sure how we
Yeah, I
actually
don't-
put it in place.
I'm not sure which attorney was supposed to
I
be.
thought theirs was,
drafting.
to be honest with you, but
Yeah.
Stephen's aware of it now, so we'll get that done. Because it won't be in
Yeah,
place. DJ, we said it
I
would,
don't think it'll be, for,
Yeah.
it'll probably be the year after next
right,
year. But, there's a chance.
okay. And that's what I have. Meg?
Two things. The comprehensive plan public workshop for this Friday was canceled, as was the meeting for that Monday following. We're just going to start fresh in the new year and let everybody enjoy their holiday. So no stress or pressure there. And then the other thing I just wanted to bring up again was that anybody who received a septic improvement program grant, the IRS ruled that those grants are not taxable. So if you filed your tax return in 2019, 2020, 2021, you can file an amendment to have that corrected. It's Form 1040X, and you can tell your accountant. So just letting you know that.
Yes, related to that, I want to dig a little deeper to see whether or not the town should refile those 1099s and correct them to zero so that the taxpayers have something to take.
I was going to ask you about that, but you were away.
Yes, yeah, it's on my list of things to do now.
The town does it and the county and the state don't. Is that problematic?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
It's unusual.
That's what we have to
First call was to the county. What are you doing?
Right.
So Christina, we have a list of everybody that we've issued grants to, so we can send them all an email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barbara would have the 1099s. So,
Oh, even easier.
yes, they're all in one place. So that's to be determined.
Yes. So that's what I had. Yeah.
Okay. Jim?
Three quickies. Conservation Advisory Council met last night. Before the meeting, we interviewed a candidate for a seventh position on the CAC. Ehrlich came in a half hour early before the meeting, and one of the chairmen and I interviewed very, very, very well. The CAC talked about the interview during the informal meeting because we did not have a quorum. We had two people sick and one person was excused. So we didn't have the four of the six that we need. Tried to explain that to them. That's the important reason of going to seven, because 4 of 7, you can have a legal meeting. So everybody understood that. We did stay around for an hour because we wanted to and listen to one another speak and talked about some of the applications, but obviously no action was taken on any of those applications. But we did share some information about each one of those applications moving forward. So we have them rescheduled to meet in January to discuss the two applications. That was 5 Winthrop Road, 149 Ram Island Drive, that one as well. So that was that meeting. So we are putting forward Ehrlich's name for consideration by the town board for the CAC.
Jim, just to follow up on that, we're hearing from a number of the committees now that because of the governor's new regulations, it's going to be very hard to have meetings
I'm gonna cover
without
that.
Zoom. Oh, you are?
I'm going to
Okay.
cover that in the next,
Oh, good, okay.
next one right here.
Good.
Because that's not really an issue for the CAC, should not be an issue for the CAC really, but it is for Deering Tech. So the second meeting I attended was on December 7th, last week, at 10 o'clock here at Town Hall. Bo starts the meeting by giving us a breakdown of this year's numbers versus last year. And I'll distribute these all to you, so you don't have to write any of this information down. I'll send it to the papers as well. I think you probably have it, but if you don't, just send me an email, I'll send it to you. This year so far, we've taken 62 deer from 23 hunters. That's by November 30th. Last year, we took 20 deer more, 82 from 29 hunters. So we're down 20 deer, we're down 6 hunters. 33 deer were taken from 15 town-managed properties. 33. Last year, 45 deer were taken from 15 properties. So we're down 12 deer there. We've handed out $450 worth of raffles in 4 raffle periods. The first raffle period, nobody qualified. We have handed out $150 in the next 3 raffle periods. The decline in active hunters is for life reasons. Age is a factor. People have gotten married, people now have kids, people are working second jobs, life reasons. It's not because they don't want to hunt, It's actually 3 of our most active hunters of the 6 are not hunting because of those kinds of reasons. I don't want to obviously specify who's who, but they have, that's the problem. It takes time to go out, especially now with our numbers down, to be able to successfully hunt. So that's a big problem. The second problem is, of course, the older hunters. If you lived in upstate New York, they hunt until their 70s and 80s because of the bow hunting. It's permissible. It takes 1/7 the amount of strength to pull back on a bow, on a.
You mean crossbow?
Crossbow, excuse me, thank you. A crossbow, what it does with a traditional bow. And even the chairman, even Jim talked about the same thing. He says, he's roughly my age or slightly younger. And he said it's difficult now to be able to get out there and hunt, even to drag the deer. It's not, this is work. And it happens, 450, 500 times during the course of a hunting season that, we have deer taken. Cold storage is down a little bit. Last year, we had 53 deer in cold storage. This year, we had 44. 24 deer have been for personal use out of 44, which means 20 deer were donated. 28 deer last year, so it's a difference of 4 deer, not a lot. What we're down is 300 pounds of meat. We had 300 pounds of meat donated compared to 600 pounds last year. There is a reason for that, 2 reasons. Number one is that the deer they're taking are smaller deer. All right. The second is acorn population is responsible for that because at a year when you get a tremendous amount of acorns, the deer are all bigger. The fawns are bigger, the does are bigger, the bucks are bigger. And when you don't have a lot of that kind of protein around for those deer to munch on, especially during the months of September, October, November, the weight of each deer is smaller. And that's the reason for that. We did discuss the flyovers. They wanted to thank you for supplying them with the ability to conduct a flyover in 2023. Remember, in 2021, we did it in January, end of January. Last year, we did it in March because of problems. This year, Bo has already been in contact. The guy assures us we're going to do it in January. We want it done at the end of January. So I did ask Jerry about other towns making inroads. Is anybody else a taker? The answer was no. So we got nobody, a lot of interest, but nobody actually did that. I did caution them about asking for this in the budget for 2024. They are fully under the belief that they're not going to even request it in their budget. They appreciate the fact that we have 3 running years. It's going to show trends. They may take a year or 2 off, then come back to the town board, ask for another couple of years to see trends. But they definitely understand that $25,000, $27,000 expenditure for flyover is significant. That money could be saved by the taxpayers or could be put into other things for deer management, which I'll talk about in the report.
And in the meantime, also, let me just, maybe you could bring this up. Somebody could investigate using drones. I mean, I'm not saying the technology is there
Yes.
right now, but the police department's experimenting, and so maybe.
Right, maybe, yep, that's a possibility. The only thing is he does infrared at night. You see, the problem with a drone is you need to be out there in the daylight.
You do?
And you do. I think at night it would be a little tricky, especially with the pattern. It's not a big island, but it takes 6 hours to conduct this flyover, starting at midnight, ending at 6 a.m. And the grid is very disciplined that he's moving over, so many feet and going up and down.
Right, I just wonder if you could.
I'm sure that's the future,
That's
And
a
it could be the
huge-
future. I'm sure it's a point I'll share with them. In terms of fall tick drags and sampling, as you know, we do this, Bo does these drags for black-legged ticks only, not for anything else. So we use a lot, same time of the year, same exact locations, same method, same everything. Tick drags are performed at several different locations across Shelter Island. Neshomick Point is the sample area. So we compare what we get in these other 6, 8, 10 areas with Neshomick Point. Since the 4 poster had been suspended, they were suspended on March 15th, 2020. But they've been down now for 2.5 years or more, 2 3/4 years. All right. New York State DEC doesn't plan on changing its policy. So it looks like we're going to be without 4 poster for the foreseeable future. There has been a steady increase in the number of black-legged ticks since 2020. I will give you a graph that will show you that. I'll email it, all this information to you. You don't have to write it down. I'll email you everything you can see. This steady uptick of black-legged ticks. Cody Miller, who's our latest person on the committee from Mashonack Reserve, from the TNC, they've been cutting the meadow shorter and shorter and shorter, doing it more vigorously to protect hikers and to cut down on ticks in Mashonack. The thing is about black-legged ticks, they like the forest, leaf litter, cool, moist, damp kinds of areas. When you cut those meadows down, in the months of June, July, and August, the sun is beating down on it. If you actually walk it like I do, going out looking for birds, it's hard and dry. It's almost like a parking lot kind of feel. There are no ticks. You don't get ticks on you there. You go into a wooded area, black-legged ticks all over you, but not there. So she hasn't given up. And by the way, her background was burning. So what she did in Florida was she was a burn specialist. She had conducted, I think it was 300, 400, 500, 600 burns in Florida in her career. So she is an expert in the area. The TNC was kind of frowned upon the burning because of the complications of getting the burns done. So, but she has not given up on that. She's going to try to still get to selected areas and do controlled burns. Educational report was done by Julia. It's on September 14th at the public library across the street. We had a bow hunting panel. Obviously, Bo was there along with a bunch of other people. We did have some people. We had some people that zoomed in. It wasn't a huge audience, but it was an audience there. And we're trying to, through this program, we ordered archery equipment. The archery equipment has arrived. It is being stored in containers at Fisk Field. We've been in contact with Dr. Dolger. So Bo and Chief Reed, the three of them, have been working this out with Julia. And grades 4 through 12, it will be announced, but beginning in April 2023, we're actually going to start conducting archery classes. With this, we don't presuppose that every kid that goes to an archery class and learns to shoot archery is going to become a hunter or wants to. It's just being treated as a sport. That's not it. And we do hope that through the course of time that we may get some people that actually develop an interest. Because obviously, if we do not, and I repeat, do not replace our recreational hunters here, we're dead. We're dead. There's no way to take them. Unless we go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars bringing pro hunters on, and people don't want that. They want the idea. Have we taken more off-island hunters? Yes, partnered them up with people here on the island. Bo has run that, has finessed that, extremely well. There are discussions of new rules regarding of the virtual attendance at meetings. That is something that Dr. Bevilacqua was going to speak with Stephen Kiley about. He had some ideas, and I used the example, and we used the example because Dr. Scott Campbell, a true professional, works at Cornell, for him to leave the office at 8 o'clock in the morning to get in here for a 10 o'clock meeting, stay for an hour and a half, then go back, he misses a half a day of work. So it's a problem.
Doesn't the regulation say if you tell them where you are and, you haven't?
Yes, but you
You
can't
have to have
vote.
an
You
excuse.
need an in-person quorum.
Yeah. It's an in-person quorum.
Yeah.
They can't
We
vote.
can get that.
And they have,
And he can, and by the way, the voting part of it is it's not like the WMAC type of thing, or planning board where votes really matter. Here, if he's on a Zoom, he is our tick expert. I mean, he is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to ticks. And having him on the committee, but like we have Dr. Potter. Dr. Potter can't leave that office every single time because he just can't. He's at least on the island. Somebody like with Scott having to come, it's a half a day of work.
Yeah.
But Jerry's right, if he's willing to post that publicly in his location, if members of the public could join him at that location, then he would be legit, I think.
That's the way I understood
I'm
it.
not sure that's the rule anymore.
Anymore, did that change? Is that?
I don't believe you can vote.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
He would have to post his exact location.
Yes,
And
yes,
even if
yes.
it would have to be noticed as
Yes.
a meeting held in 2 different locations.
Yes.
And the other suggestion, which to me is the easiest, change the time.
Yeah.
Change the time that a working man could come. But
But we're hearing it from a lot of committees now.
Yeah.
No, it's
They're having
true,
trouble, you know.
but for different reasons.
Yeah,
Specific
yeah,
reasons.
yeah.
Well, you know,
Just mentioning.
what the state doesn't realize is that business has made the adjustment.
Yeah.
They're not requiring everybody to come back to Manhattan
Right.
5 days a week. They figured out smartly that it's to their benefit.
Lower costs.
Lower the cost. Don't have to have as big an office.
Really, with us, more participation.
Correct, getting more done. Because that hour and a half, 2 hours you spend in a car on the roads, the rails, getting in buses to get to and from work, you could be working. You know, you can be getting things done. So, business operates on getting things done. I have to understand that, you know, we're just kind of the same situation. Getting things done,
We
that's
understand,
important.
yeah, and as I said to my committees, we understand their issues, we're just sort of powerless here. There's a couple of workarounds, but
We sent the letter to the governor.
yeah,
And I think we CC Fred Deal and Palumbo on it. Not Palumbo now, well,
Yeah.
Palumbo's still in.
All right.
and now the committees
The committees are gonna try to,
lobby themselves.
The last thing I have is, the good news is, if in fact all this stuff doesn't happen, you know, ticks continue to rise at a high rate. We're in phase 3 now of a vaccine development that is a few years away from coming out. So there are literally hundreds of people, mostly in the Northeast, that are participating in phase 3 study with the professional groups to determine the potential use of new vaccines for Lyme disease. Now, it's not going to cover everything else, but Lyme is a big one. And obviously, this is very important. So Scott knows a lot of these people that are involved in this testing. And as he said, it may take several years. We'll need to analyze all the data once it comes back, which takes some time to analyze all that data before federal and state regulations could be adopted. So but it is, our formula right now, I'll close on this, is the way we operate our deer management. It's roughly, approximately 1/3 adult does, 1/3 adult bucks, 1/3 fawns. The main part of our thrust in February and March during the deer management 2 months is adult does. Because obviously every adult doe that is pregnant is carrying 1.75 fawns, 1 3/4. So for every adult doe you take down, you are lowering the census by 2.75 come May, June, July, when these fawns would be born. You know, and that's counting single,
Right.
multiple births. It's the only way to keep the population down. I will tell you that I think a credit to the community is that although we didn't reach our goal in the summer of 2022 to get to 50%, we're very close to that. Because we didn't know what the starting number was. Was it really 1,300, 1,350, 1,400, 1,500? Because we know where we got to down into the 700s. But we probably didn't get to the 650 that we were looking to get to last summer. Will we be able to do it this summer? I don't know. Bo was determined that during the months of February and March, there's going to be a yeoman's task to go out there and get these numbers down. Once we get to 50%, and that's established by the flyover, we will then be able to sit there and analyze the data of what's coming in. Are there less accidents? Are there less people going to the pharmacy prescriptions? Are there less people going to Dr. Kelt, Dr. Potter for tick bites? All the data, the cameras that we have set up, all that data, there was 8 or 9 different pieces of data that we analyzed. Those numbers should start to show a decrease, except for, of course, the tick numbers, which have gone up. But again, that's, and I think people have stated that, you know, there are islands off the New England coast that are 1 square mile, Mohegan Island off the coast of Maine, which is much smaller than Shelter Island, where they went in and eliminated all the deer. And they got ticks down to virtually nothing. You can't do that here. We do have an advantage over the Two Forks. Because no matter what they do in Southold, Riverhead impacts and Greenport impact, and, you know, same thing with Southold.
Right.
Here we are an island. So we do have but even to maintain the population at 650, and to have cut the population in half, still takes a lot of effort in terms of maintaining those numbers. I just throw that out. I'm not going to do I spent so much time on Deer Tech. I'll do, and it give me a little bit more time to do I got the minutes done, capital planning. I'll send those all to you, but I'll highlight only the highlights next Tuesday.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
Amber?
The only thing that I did have from the capital planning and grants was that we discussed that Suffolk County Water Authority, we didn't get the grants for that we were looking to get. So can we give Suffolk County Water Authority the go-ahead to start on the much needed capital upgrades?
Yeah.
We spoke with Jen Mesiano and it's just not meeting criteria, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Give them the go-ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not gonna get cheaper. It's only gonna get
Right.
more expensive. The fact of the matter is that the infrastructure there, the mains there are in poor shape. And it's accident after accident after accident. They spend a lot of time going out and finding these leaks.
Yeah.
And they vary from minor leaks to major leaks, losing, from a few thousand gallons to many thousands of gallons worth of water. We can't operate that way. We have to have an infrastructure that works. So it has to be replaced. So we need, as a town board, to be able to support that. We can continue to look for alternate funding mechanisms without grants now to do this, but that's a reality. And the other thing that came up that's significant that Amber has worked on with Jim and Joe and Jen is the capital plan itself. So that's important. We have a draft that's going out. Amber can probably explain it a lot better than I can, to all the department heads, which basically gives a cover letter explaining why we're doing what we're doing and what our goals are. Our goal is to be able to map out a good state-of-the-art capital plan for 5 years, covering from 2023 through 2027 or 8, and be able to get things on that plan that we normally wouldn't get through the operational budget. So Jim Reed used the example of the cars. The cars go in the operational budget because as cars are rotated through, it's just a car a year, we move them around. But he said the boat. A boat is something that we may not have for 6, 7, 8 years in our budget. That would be a capital planning kind of thing. That's something that's different, that doesn't repeat itself each and every year. So I think the department chairmen have to really take a hard look at that, at all the committees, to come up with a solid plan. I think it's a great first start. I just asked before they release it, I hadn't seen it before other than this morning. I want the next couple of weeks to look through it myself, ask some questions about it, see if the form serves the real purpose of what we're looking for, and then issue it. And I think Amber would like to have it out, first week in January and back, to us in a turnaround time so that we have time to work on it, prepare for it for the 2024 budget. But, it's a good logical thing. And the other thing we talked about a little bit, this is just the highlights. We don't have to go through the other stuff, is the ADA compliance at the 2 buildings. So I just want to remind the town board that we did take the money out, the $50,000 design money for ADA for Justice Hall. We did include that request in the block grant to get monies through the block grant to be able to support that design phase for that building. 2022 budget, the 50,000, which we could have some money left over from that budget that we could throw into the 2023 effort and see if we can get that done. We're hopefully get something back from Pam in the next, I'm thinking in the next, matter of weeks or in the month of January, an initial plan on what we're doing at police headquarters. We would love to be able to get that, find the money, because we can't just award a contract without the money to support that, for her to go on and see if she, would look at Justice Hall for us. That would be get us going with the ADA compliance. All right, that's it.
But just to finish up on that, the community block development grant, we should know by March, so that may be a good timing. Then September is usually when they release the funds. So
Okay.
we should hopefully get it and be able to keep proceeding.
BJ?
Yeah, CPF met on Monday, that's yesterday morning, seems like forever ago. 7.5 million, give or take, is available for expenditure. After all of our, there's one pending purchase, but it's not for a lot of money, it's $1 million. And that's just waiting for some wells to be capped, test well, singular or plural, I'm not sure.
That's after the white property.
Yes, yes. So, and then a reflection on 2022 took place. And they were very proud of the fact that the Boyd property was secured for preservation. And recognized that the town board did have a small role in preserving that transaction. They thought that there was a win for the CPF in terms of preventing a wastewater treatment plant on CPF lands, and a win for the CPF in terms of TDRs not being allowed. I personally disagree with that characterization. In 2023, there will be trails needed on the White property and at Cackle Hill. Cackle Hill, there were also some work needs to be done that was discussed sort of thoroughly to prevent people from infringing on the portion of that property that's not open to the
Right.
public.
Right.
So they're going to be taking care of that. It seems to me to be pretty high on the agenda for good reason. So that was good to hear. Again, another complaint about very difficult to have a quorum throughout the winter. So just to say, and one of the members there, Kathy Kenny, and Tui Brayson, two of them are volunteered to take the lead in sort of getting the committees together, all the committees, townwide committees, to sort of initiate a little lobbying effort on how Shelter Island's different. So maybe they could get the state to carve out an exception. So
Yeah. On that note, Christina sent out a list, message to all the committee heads to deal directly with Tui and
Kathy Kenny
Kathy.
and
And I saw the first response came back to you today. So I'll have to reinforce that.
yeah, we'll have to highlight that in some way. I don't know. Nick Moorhead Memorial Bench, the school is making it. The county has some definitive sort of things that they have to, that you have to have concrete legs. Hopefully a spring dedication for that. It's going to be great. West Neck Preserve working on a plan. Hopefully soon we'll have a preliminary plan to make that a meadow. PW grocery report, it was requested that it be posted on the website. Christina has already done that. There were some rumblings about the town engineer, but he's on paternity leave. So I think that his response time and detailedness of his reports will be fine in the future. They have been in the past. And that's about it.
Okay.
Jerry, one bit of good news I'm going to give you money-wise. Good news from Jen on the update of this capital plan. The New York State DEC, remember for the excavator and for the roof of the recycling center? So there's $112,992 for the excavator. That's 50% of what we spent. And another $48,887. That totals $161,879. The New York State DEC is now on application number 1401. These two are numbers 1408 and 1409. So the good news is within a matter of this year, hopefully by summer, these two applications will come up, the monies will be awarded, the town will then get back $161,879. So that's kind of big.
Where does that money go?
Goes-
Capital? Do we take it from there?
Goes to-
Excavator will go into the equipment reserve fund, so that we replenish
Right.
that and then
Mhm.
usually use that for funding
Yeah.
future projects. And what was the other one?
The roof, the recycling center.
That did not come out of equipment reserve, so that'll go back into the general fund.
Okay,
Yeah, good. But it's a lot of money. So it's
Yeah.
it's a substantial
Yeah.
amount of money. They're moving faster than I thought, so.
BJ, I just want to address some of those comments.
Yes.
I probably shouldn't, but I'm gonna. The White property was a huge project. It was a joint venture, but that project was dead in the water. And the town board felt we should try, and with Jim kind of pushing us to meet with the county, we did, and we were able to salvage that one. So it was a group effort.
A group effort, and you have to also to recognize 2 years of work
Right.
on the part of the committee, but
Oh,
specifically.
they work very hard.
Specifically important, but you're
Yes.
right, without Jim pushing us to get the county to accept the conditions that were not unreasonable
Right,
by the
right,
sellers.
because the county backed out.
Yes, they were done, and it would be too expensive, we
Right.
felt.
We were down to 1 week in counting.
Right. On the wastewater treatment, you said they termed it as a win.
And it didn't go to
I have,
Copernicus, yep.
I have, a continued dialogue going with Brett Thiel. We're waiting for them to put together the Community Preservation Fund, opinions
Supercommittee,
board or whatever
yeah.
they are, to determine the uses for land.
Mhm.
And the last one, the TDRs, I don't know how you would consider that a win.
I don't even,
It's, we don't have public water, and that's the reason we were shut down, but, I mean, we're preserving all this land, we're not building on it, and we have a housing crisis, so I would think they would be, I'm a little disappointed that they celebrated that.
I am too,
You know.
I was too.
Okay, that's it. Christina, you have anything for us? Amber? No? Okay, anybody in the audience have anything? Pam Demarest.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, Pam.
I just have a few questions, and I'm hoping they'll be answered prior to the Ramshead Inn proposal going to the public hearing, because they've been brought up before and they're still not answered. The
There is
first
a
one was
rule.
that on the September, I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm not
sorry.
gonna leave the room. I just won't get involved in it. Go ahead, Pam.
Okay,
So we weren't
in
gonna
the
take-
September 20th, are we still discussing that, or am I okay?
As I said earlier, we're going to discuss the Rams Head Inn application at the public hearing on January 10th. So
I know,
any-
these are the questions I have that I think need to be answered prior to that. First of all, the applicant was going to be asked to resubmit their application to the DEC because of the false or incorrect statements that were made in the SEAF. That came up in
Yeah.
the September 20th meeting. Please let me finish, please. The
we're not-
DEC
okay, we're not gonna
dimensions
get
on the
answer.
permit.
We're
Well.
not going to get an answer
I'm going to
today.
ask them again at the public hearing, and you should be prepared. The DEC dimensions do not match the plan that was approved. So I don't know what you're going to put in the public notice as far as dimensions on this proposal. It was not clear, there was a discrepancy in the DEC's paperwork itself, still not cleared up. I'm wondering if the applicant has submitted a wetlands permit because there is construction happening along the shoreline and up the bluff in the vegetative area and the wetlands area. And also I am wondering if the town has received any response from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They haven't received response from the application that was put in July of 21. So I don't suppose they've gotten anything, that you've gotten anything back from them then. I mean, I'd like all of this settled prior to this going to a public hearing, the DEC stuff in particular. You were going to ask the applicant to resubmit the application to get those questions correctly reported.
No.
And we
And
will,
since the permit or authorized activity does not match the dimensions on the plan, there is a question about what's the plan?
I believe
Tim,
we have the application. It's going to be addressed at the public hearing. I don't think there's any point in any colloquy at this meeting.
Which application are you discussing, Mr. Hill? Is this the DEC application or the application to the town?
We're not the DEC.
But if there's a discrepancy in the DEC's application as to the dimensions of this proposed project, how do we rectify that? Because there is. It is unclear what they have permitted. What is written in the text of the permit does not match the plans. I have asked the DEC, I am not getting a response from them. I would like that to be resolved prior to this public hearing.
I don't think the town can speak for the DEC.
Well, I don't know how the town can decide what the DEC has decided if it's unclear. I don't know why this is so confusing to everyone, but this is a big discrepancy. We're talking about one floating dock that's going to be either 8 by 40 or 8 by 20. That's a big difference in square footage.
We will pick all of this up at the public hearing and at the work
So,
session following.
The answer is that the applicant has not been asked to resubmit the application to the DEC. Is that the answer I'm getting today? That they have not been asked to resubmit the application to get those corrections done on the questions that were incorrectly reported? And no one has talked to the DEC about what the actual dimensions are that they've approved?
I defer to what Timothy Hill said earlier. We're not going to discuss this today.
Very good. I'll wait and see when I'll get some answers to those questions, because I think they're very important prior to the public hearing. And I don't know how you're gonna put a public notice in the paper if we don't know what the DEC has approved on dimensions. So
It's an open
I'll see how
hearing.
you figure it out. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pam. Anybody else? Okay, if there's nobody else, Julia, any questions from the press?
Not for me, Jerry, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion, we adjourn and go into executive session. We have some interviews to discuss and also some potential land acquisitions. Make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.